This episode is brought to you by the MJ family of companies. Whatever interests you in the cannabis community can be found at mj.com. Unique and original content updating you on the latest trends in marijuana legalization, businesses and executives that are disrupting the industry, along with recreational entertainment and the latest deals on the brands and products you love. Visit mj.com today. Welcome to the Pot Live Podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and I can't believe it. We've already broken through 100 episodes. We want to thank you, the listeners, thousands of you that have sent beautiful comments, beautiful notes to us. Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoy it. This next year, we're going to bring you the thought leaders, entertainers, trailblazers, CEOs of all the cannabis companies you want to hear from. People that are inventing new products, people that are bringing this cannabis industry to the mainstream. We are going to offer you education, value, and entertainment. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show. And we are back with another episode of the Pot Live Podcast. I'm your host, Lenny G, and today we are privileged to have Mr. Chuck Smith. He is the CEO of BellRock Brands. BellRock Brands is this new huge entity. Just had a merger with Dixie Brands and BR Brands, and Chuck's going to tell us all about it. Chuck, welcome to the show.
Oh, Len, I'm so happy to be here with you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here and taking the time. So first of all, let's dive into who Chuck Smith is. Give us a little background on where you came from and how you got into the cannabis industry.
Well, for sure. I co-founded Dixie Brands back in 2010, so I've been around for a little bit. We started the company in Colorado, and then over the course of the years, we expanded it to several states, including California and Michigan. Took the company public in the end of 2018, which in fact, November 29th to be exact, which if I could have picked a worse day to take a company in the cannabis industry public, I'm not sure there was a worse one than that day, because December was kind of a bad month and the beginning of 2019 was pretty tough for the cannabis space. But we muddled through, we survived and continued to build our company and our brand. And back in the beginning of this year, we decided to merge with another company called BR Brands. So Dixie Brands is the proud owner of the Dixie portfolio of products, one of the more well-known infused products companies in the industry.
One of the trailblazers in the industry, right?
Yeah, one of the trailblazers. We've been around for a while. We've been doing it for in Colorado and elsewhere for quite a bit. And then we were able to merge the company with a private entity called BR Brands, which is the proud owner, or was the proud owner of Mary's, which is also one of the equivalent OGs, if you will, in the cannabis space, really focused on health and wellness. So bringing the two companies together, closing that merger on October 31st to now create BellRock Brands.
Great, excellent. So tell us a little bit about why did you see that the merger was a smart move for both companies to have a win-win scenario, and how has it gone? And, we're recording this in February of 2021 for our listeners out there, whenever you may be listening. And they just closed this merger a few months ago. So how's it been going? And what was the win-win scenario that you envisioned?
Sure. Yeah, as I mentioned, the cannabis industry has really been growing. Obviously, the last couple of years, a lot of public companies coming into the market, but also it's created a challenging, certainly through 2019 and into early 20, kind of a challenging time in the capital markets. And I looked at it and said that, really this company needed to be bigger, quicker. We had an incredible platform, incredible portfolio of products, and most importantly, incredible intellectual capital in terms of the team. But I knew that I had to get the company bigger, quicker to be able to really scale to the goals and aspirations that we had for ourselves and our shareholders. Hence, joining up with the BR Brands team and really being able to bring an equivalently large and well-respected portfolio of products, including the Mary's product line. And then our two portfolio companies in California, Défoncé, which is a high-end chocolate line, and then Rebel Coast, which is a infused beverage portfolio company, which is also going to be extremely exciting. So bringing those together on one combined platform immediately allowed the company to be over twice the size and scale, revenue, and infrastructure. And that really has positioned us well now for the future. And as you mentioned, we did close the merger on October 31st, but we really started acting and trying to act as an integrated company back in April when we really announced the transaction. Obviously, we had to go through the closing process, but we brought the teams together. They started really working well together. We started finding a lot of synergies in our sales organizations and our manufacturing organizations, so that when we closed the transaction, in essence, November 1st, we were operating as one company, and it's really just not missed a beat since then.
And you mentioned infused beverages, and I recently did an interview with an analyst talking about, some of the real big boys like a Canopy, Constellation getting into those infused beverages as well. Have you seen traction in that? Do you believe that that could be a future where some newbies into the cannabis industry can really kind of enjoy it instead of smoking or vaping? Maybe they want to just try it with a beverage?
Sure. Well, I think, Len, you're seeing the consumer, whether it's a patient or an actual, just recreational consumer, moving away from straight flower and into infused products of all types. And I say moving away, quite frankly, we're increasing the amount of new consumers that are coming into the industry. And many of them are coming in without a desire to smoke flower, but instead ingest cannabis in many different ways, whether it's a food product or a topical product like the Mary's line, or a beverage product. And if you look at the largest, one of the largest consumer segments in the world today, it's beverages. So why wouldn't we have cannabis infused beverages being a growing and important category within cannabis? And I see that is exactly where we're going. The Rebel Coast product portfolio is incredible, and we're really looking forward to bring that into the market. But don't forget that Dixie really built its business on beverages, and we've been doing it for over 10 years. So we really know everything there is about the technology, about the emulsification, about the packaging, and the ability to bring that product to market. So I think we have as powerful a portfolio as anyone out there.
Now, I don't know if in the states where cannabis is fully legal, are you allowed to, do you have to go direct to consumer, or can you distribute to establishments like bars and restaurants that may want to sell these products?
No, everything still has to go through a licensed premise, whether that's a dispensary. There are some states that are starting to open up and look at on-premise kind of consumption, but these are more, again, controlled consumption lounges or locations that have been approved to allow consumers to come in and have cannabis products. We're not yet into normal straight distribution into, your typical retail location or, bar or restaurant yet, but those days will be coming soon, I think.
And tell us, I happen to like the topicals because it doesn't really make you too, stoned, if you will. It just gives you a nice, relaxing feeling from my experience. And I am not a huge flower connoisseur, so I'm just giving you my little experience there. So tell us a little bit about the Mary's line and the topical. Have you gotten traction with that? Is that a popular brand for you guys?
Well, for sure. Again, Mary's has been around for 9 years, so it has, a great storied history in the topicals and really the health and wellness segment of cannabis. So you've got a lot of consumers that, just like yourself, they're not necessarily interested in eating it or drinking it or smoking it, but they're happy to rub it on because they find that it helps them, whether it's aches and pains or just normal relaxation. Mary's was one of the pioneers of infused patches. Those patches really deliver controlled dosing of cannabinoids, whether it's THC or CBD. And as we move forward, there'll be many other cannabinoids that will be delivered through, various methods like topicals, patches, or ingestibles. That portfolio is exciting to me because there's a lot of untapped potential. And what I mean by that is Dixie makes today one of the best gummies in the marketplace. And I can say that hands down. There's only a couple competitors out there that I would even put in our category. But we have that technology, and we can move that technology now over to Mary's and create a functional gummy that now is something that their consumer wants. So someone that was walking in for health and wellness benefits, instead of just buying a topical, they may want to buy a functional gummy. Maybe it's got some vitamins in it, or it's got some other ingredients, natural ingredients that allow them to have whatever the desired effect. So I'm excited about what we can do with BellRock of taking our technologies and really taking those form factors across our various portfolio companies and expanding the base of our consumer reach.
Now, do you see for the future growth and scale of the company, as you mentioned earlier, it was almost easier to merge and scale that way. Is acquisition in the future an easier way to scale than trying to market and scale your brand because it's so difficult to market these products until everything's federally legal?
So today, Len, we operate in 9 states, and we've really built the company so that we can have a true buy, build, or partnership type strategy. So what I mean by that is in every market, that major market that we're in, we have our own controlled manufacturing facility, our distribution facility, and our sales and field marketing teams. That allows us then to bring these products across all of that platform very quickly and very efficiently. So as an example, I mentioned Défoncé, the chocolate company, and Rebel Coast are California-based only. But very soon in 2021, we'll be bringing those across our platforms to Colorado and Michigan to begin with, and then our other markets. If you take that same theory that it's a manufacturing and distribution sales organization, we can then build new products and innovate those through our team, or we can buy one that maybe is something that is a white space in our portfolio, or we can partner with somebody that isn't ready to be acquired, but certainly is looking for broad scale manufacturing and distribution help.
I'd also like to ask you, for some of our listeners, we have a large network of listeners that are business owners and have always juggled staying private versus going public. Can you just talk in general about the pros and cons of, I guess, when you were a private company versus now being a public company for so many years? Can you talk about that experience?
Well, I guess as a public company CEO, I shouldn't say you should stay private, but
I mean, just in general,
experience.
You don't have to you don't have to tell details about your company. Just for the business owner, if you were just starting a company or you had some traction, what do you think are the just general pros and cons of private versus public?
Sure. No, I was just being tongue.
Yeah, I understand.
Look, I think a lot of benefits to being private, and there's many, many very successful companies that have been private. In the cannabis space, though, we just knew that we needed access to capital. And unfortunately, with the banking rules and regulations as they are today, and the way the federal legalization efforts were still underway, we really needed to have access to the capital that was only available in the public markets. And so that put us on that path. If we were going to grow and be successful, we really needed to be in those markets where there's opportunities to our shareholders. So that's why the choice I made to take the company public, really to access those markets. I think, depending on what an individual's, ultimate goals and aspirations are, we'll tell them whether they want to go through that process, which is, quite expensive and quite complicated, but the rewards on the other end are hopefully access to capital and really continuing to build a large, successful company.
Now, do you feel, no matter what side of the fence you are politically, we don't need to get into that, but with the new administration and all of the, I guess, positive momentum of people thinking the cannabis industry will be decriminalized or legalized in some fashion, whether it's medically or recreational, do you believe that the next few years will be a huge launching pad for the industry?
I do. And I do certainly think that the current administration clearly is much more favorable to the legalization of cannabis. I still think it's a little ways out because there's a lot of different opinions, even on the Democratic side, in terms of how this industry should be legalized. But here's what I would say. I think you're going to continue to see momentum for the industry to push us toward more responsible banking approaches, with the Safe Banking Act, for example, or the MORE Act, where you're going to see much more expansive areas of legalization from a state by state and ultimately a federal level. I think that we're also going to see some tax relief, and hopefully we can have a more favorable tax code as opposed to the 280E tax code that's in place today. So I do think you're going to see momentum moving in that direction. But this administration is not the panacea. It's not going to be federally legal tomorrow. And frankly, I'm happy if we can continue to move on a state by state basis, have some federal oversight so that we do have access to banking and favorable taxes, but just continue to roll this out in a responsible way on a state by state basis.
Do you find the lack of interstate commerce to be a big obstacle for a company like yours that are in 9 states? Like you can't really mix and match? And I guess from my previous guest, dealing with the different municipalities, cities, counties, states, whatever it may be, all the rules are different. So it's almost like the Wild West in every state you go to. How have you tackled that with your team?
Yeah, that certainly isn't a very efficient way to build a national brand or a national company. It does inherently, though, create some barriers to entry that I think, companies like ours and some of the other MSOs that are out there, are still being able to leverage to build our brands across the country and to really get a foothold in each of these states. We're very fortunate that our teams are really purpose built to this. So aren't very many regulations that we haven't seen. There aren't many curveballs that we haven't had to deal with already. So we're in pretty good shape on every time we open up a new market and how we do it. And that's just going to put us in a great spot when we do have federal legalization of some sort, or we do have interstate commerce, which I think, to your point, is going to be the next opportunity. That allows us then to take all that great work that we've done on a state-by-state basis and start finding ways to make it efficient and make it either more regional or ultimately nationally focused. So, we're going to continue to expand in the infrastructure and the regime that we have in place, and then take advantage of the legalization efforts as they come.
And Chuck, where can listeners find out more about the BellRock brands, your portfolio of brands, or get in touch with your team if they have any questions?
Sure. It's BellRockBrands.com. And if you go to that website, then you'll also be directed to look at any of our other portfolio companies and look at those brands and understand where they're sold and the unique characteristics of each of those.
All right. Now, we always finish up, Chuck, and I know you've listened to a couple of our episodes before. Give us something that you're concerned about in the overall cannabis industry and something that excites you.
Sure. Well, as we said, I'm the CEO of a public cannabis company, so everything concerns me, Len. But on the same token, it may sound a little flippant, but I'm not concerned about a lot right now, because the reality is this industry continues to grow. It continues to professionalize. I'm amazed every day at the folks that are in this industry, and I'm also incredibly excited about the new consumers that are coming into the industry that are really bringing cannabis to the forefront as a true CPG industry, and that are really looking for greater products. So that in turn is what excites me, because BellRock is in a great position with one of the broadest portfolios of infused products in the industry today. We basically service any type of product that a consumer wants other than flower. And I'm excited about how the growth of this industry is happening in such a responsible and mature way. And I know that the best days of our industry are ahead of us.
And one more, just I'm going to throw a little wrinkle in here that I wanted to ask you, Chuck, if it's okay. What do you envision in the future? Obviously, BellRock, you guys are positioned awesome. You have brands that have been around for years and are very successful. What about when everything does go federally legal and all of a sudden there's Amazon Weed and Uber Weed and all these huge companies are able to jump in? Is there a way for the mom and pop dispensary or local store to survive in that? Or do you need to position yourself for acquisition? Or are they going to steamroll the little guys, what I'm trying to say, in your vision?
Sure. Look, I think that scenario you've laid out is a long way off. However, I think there's an analogous to the beer industry, for example. There's a lot of huge beer companies out there, but there's a whole lot of craft brewers that are doing quite well. And those craft brewers, depending on what their motivation are, can either stay local or regional, or they can ultimately, get bigger and be acquired, but still have their niche, if you will, within a broader portfolio. So, I don't think that smaller operators should be afraid of this industry continuing to grow, because I think it's just going to provide more opportunities for everyone.
Mr. Chuck Smith, CEO of BellRock Brands, thank you so much for taking the time today to join us.
Len, thank you. This has been real enjoyable, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you on your podcast.
Oh, same here, same here. Everyone check out BellRock Brands and their amazing portfolio, and we will see you next time on the Pot Live Podcast. Make sure you follow the #1 entertainment page on Instagram, @HitsBlunt. Over 3 million followers and growing, offering you pure entertainment throughout the day, along with all the latest info you need in our story feed. Follow @HitsBlunt on Instagram to laugh every single day.